pressure mounts to make the chase.
Being on the bubble is very tough.
There's a lot of tension, a lot of stress, a lot of excitement to be had.
That's as intense as it gets for drivers.
I hate saying what if or looking back and saying if I had done this or if I had done that.
If you don't make it in the chase, it's a loss of a year.
The most important qualifying session of the year. It's the last race before the chase as we get ready for Sprint Cup Series qualifying from Richmond International Raceway. When I say important, 4 drivers want to have the best starting position they can possibly have as they are currently on the bubble. Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, Jamie McMurray, and Ryan Newman all fighting for the chance for the championship in 2016. Hello, everyone. Alongside Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, I'm Rick Allen. And Jeff, the intensity ramps up now as we get ready for qualifying. Just how important is this, especially for the bubble guys, the guys who have to have a good starting position to get as many points as possible?
Well, I think track position matters, especially on these short tracks. It's hard to pass, very competitive, so they want to qualify well. And don't forget about Chris Buescher.
Right,
if he has to finish in a top 30 in order to advance, so there's a pressure on all these guys because track position is so important.
Well, track position is important not only for the opportunity to win the race or have a good run, but this is a short track. Action happens very quick around this 3/4 mile raceway, and if there's an accident, you could be caught up in it. When you look at those points that need to be made up, 22 points for Ryan Newman, he can be aggressive, but if you're Jamie McMurray and you start in the back, how can you start this race with any sort of confidence that you're going to be able to miss all the accidents?
Every driver that has won a race gets 3 bonus points for that race, and that only is factored in for the first round of the championship. So if you look at the points, the chase is going to start in Chicago, and right now these are the points as they would be running if the chase were to start today. Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski both have 4 wins, so 2,012 points. Points very important to get out of that first round.
They're exceptionally important. So already you can see Kyle Busch has a 12-point advantage over Jamie McMurray, but more importantly, a 9-point advantage over Chris Buescher. If Kyle Busch can win, that's points that he doesn't have to make up in case of a bad spot. So in a 3-race segment, we have 3 3-race segments. This is what we're getting ready to do. Some are going to transfer by wins, but most are going to transfer by points. So winning gives you bonus points, and it helps you a great deal in this first segment.
And let's be to the point. 3 points. Everybody thinks it's only 3 points. Last year, Dover, to end round 1, Jamie McMurray tied in the points and didn't advance. Tied. 1 point would have been all that mattered. So 3 points to any of these drivers in round 1 could be what it takes.
And remember, this championship has been decided with a tie as well.
Absolutely.
So 1 single point is huge.
And that's 1 position on the racetrack. Well, today, the other thing that the drivers are having to deal with is the weather. 96 degrees right now. The record high for Richmond is 98 degrees. That was back in 1900. So 96 degrees right now. It feels like 103. The track temperature almost 130 degrees. How does that affect this qualifying session?
Well, think about it, Jeff. Not only is it sweltering heat here in the Richmond area, but there's also a 1-day practice show. They have 2 practices in qualifying all on the same day. Very little time to think about what they want to change for the race cars, and now they have to try to adapt and find grip on the very warm racetrack.
And how much is the track going to change, and how much pace is going to be picked up as the track cools down? That's a hard variable that these crew chiefs and drivers are going to have to figure out.
Drivers talking to each other. We're going to hear from a few of the drivers when we come back as we're getting ready to set the field for the final race before the chase from Richmond.
For over 60 years, STP has been developing products to help cars run at their peak performance. To get the inside track on NASCAR racing, go to NBCSports.com/Inside NASCAR.
Great look at downtown Richmond, where this racetrack is just a few miles from downtown Richmond. We get ready for qualifying. Let's go to Dave Burns.
And checking in down on the grid, group conversations happening down here. You never know what kind of group is going to assemble here. Ryan Newman, Paul Menard, and Brad Keselowski. You can stop that conversation just for a moment, but I do want to talk to you. Ryan's got the most at stake here, it would seem, in qualifying here this afternoon. How good was your car in final practice?
Just good enough to be good. We weren't great. We didn't bust off any great quick laps, but I think we got a decent, at least a better balance on the car. I didn't get a good qualifying run on stickers, so hopefully we can prove that here in this next session.
How do you then translate that into getting out in the first round here?
you just want to get a good lap and be able to make it through the first round, and then get another good lap and make it through the next round, and then have something with the least amount of tires, laps on your tires, and then have a shot at the pole. So it seems like it's just super sensitive. I mean, it just feels like we're in the desert right now.
I was going to say, do we have any benefit now that the cool breeze has come in here?
No, because that sun's still cooking my face right now. I'm pretty sure that the asphalt's getting cooked just the same.
All right, still cooking down here. Let's move over to Brad Keselowski. Thank you, Ryan. Pretty good in final practice there. What do you expect out of the 2-car in qualifying today?
Well, we're going to have to, of course, run a fast lap. You got to be faster. Paul was here, and Paul saw you, and you didn't.
He ran.
He ran. He's gone, but it's hard to say what to expect. The track got oiled down there in Xfinity qualifying. I thought it lost quite a bit of grip. So, and of course, in group qualifying, where you have 2 or 3 rounds, the tires wear out a lot here at Richmond, and the second and third round, the cars slide around. So it can be a bit of a handful, Dave, and that's kind of what I'm expecting. Hopefully, we're a fast handful with the Miller Lite Ford. As you start each one of your, I would call it, within the round, your laps, which is the money lap? Not the first, maybe the second? I think on the Cup cars, it's the first lap. If you want to get it done on the first lap, so you don't have to keep running the tires over and over again. They're just going to keep falling off. All right, watch out behind you. Brian Scott's car being moved through. Let's head over to Marty Snyder.
And let's chat with Chase Elliott and Jeff Gordon. A little advice being exchanged here. I'm not sure who's exchanging what advice here. So who was giving who advice, Chase?
He was just giving me a Mountain Dew, actually.
Oh, okay. That's so nice of you, Jeff. Very nice of you.
That's what I do in my retired life. I take care of these guys.
You're a giver, right? So were you giving him advice about Richmond, or is he giving you young guy advice?
I don't think we were giving any advice, just talking, just sharing notes about Darlington and today, and talking about how much we enjoy practicing during the day to get ready for night race.
That's difficult, isn't it, Chase?
It can be, for sure. This is a tough place in general. The thing about Richmond is it looks so straightforward and so simple. We roll around here and at TV it looks like, man, there's just nothing special about this place, but it's very, very fine line, and it's hard to find that line throughout practice, and definitely makes it even tougher in the daytime. Some weeks, this week is kind of one of those, but I think if you're good during the day, you'll be good at night. It's kind of my philosophy on that.
How cool is it that you get to spend time with him at the racetrack lately and just kind of, glean information off of him, because that was his race team last year?
For sure, it's been good. I feel like we've had time to spend in debriefs, whether it's after practice and qualifying on the race weekends, or on Tuesdays we have our meetings, and just trying to put what we all have each weekend together and try to make it better is our end goal. And I think we've been working in that direction better throughout these past few weeks, which I think is encouraging, and hopefully we can have a good weekend here and try to move forward from there.
And Jeff, what's impressed you about him this year? Because he's been awfully calm the whole year, hasn't he?
Everything. Yeah, I mean, I was so excited when I found out he was going to drive that 24 car and work with Alan Gustafson, who I just love as a crew chief, and all the engineers. That whole team over there deserves to have a young, talented guy like this behind the wheel. And I can't wait for this chase to get started and see what Chase does in this chase. I think that team showed what they're capable of last year, and I think he's going to show what he's capable of once they put a whole reset into it.
I'll tell you what, for the semi-retired guy, it seems like it's been a pretty good day for the 88 car, hasn't it?
Yeah, Greg and the guys on this 88 Exalted Chevrolet have done a great job. The car's been really well balanced, and I hope what Chase said is true. If you got a good car in the daytime, it's good at night, because I feel like my car's been pretty good.
All right, Jeff Gordon, Chase Elliott hanging out and waiting for cars to come out, Dave. That's the big thing right now to get qualifying going.
That's a lot of chasing, Marty. A lot of chases right there. Yes, indeed. Hey, let's talk to Casey Mears. He was fastest in final practice there. What kind of a lap did you get busted off in the 13 there, and can it apply to qualifying coming up?
Well, I mean, I think that for sure when we went out, the track was a little better than it was, mid-practice. So that catered to us being quick at that time. But, I mean, the Geico Chevrolet has been pretty good. I feel pretty good about it in race trim. It'll be interesting to see how it all stacks up here now, all things being equal, and see what we can do. But we're definitely in a lot better shape than we have been here in the past. It seems like the last couple of times we've been here, we've struggled. And to have that speed at any moment during practice is encouraging for us. And the way the car feels in race trim is encouraging. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow night as well.
So are you saying you're maybe a little bit more comfortable now that practice has happened?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that practice was over. It was so hot, man, and slick. You got about 15, 20 laps in your tires, and it almost didn't matter what you did to your car. It felt the same. You're just sliding around like crazy. So it's always frustrating here, but you just got to look back on your history. You got to trust the tools that you have and the simulation and the information that you have, back inside those haulers and make a good educated decision for tomorrow night.
All right, Casey Mears is alone here on the wall watching them push cars out. His Geico Chevrolet will join the grid, and he'll get in soon, Marty.
Let's chat with Kyle Larson, winner at Michigan a few weeks ago, second fastest in practice earlier today. And how happy were you with the 42 car?
Yeah, we made some gains on it, I thought, the second practice. First practice, we were trying some new stuff, and we were pretty loose. And second practice, I think we went back on kind of what we've had here in the past and got a little bit better. I thought our consistency was a lot better. And then we made a mock run that was, as good as anybody had gone that late in the session. So happy about that. It's always different once it gets a little cooler outside, so we'll see, but I feel pretty good about our Target Chevy.
Now that you're locked into the chase, how important is it to learn something this weekend? Because I think you guys feel like New Hampshire is going to be a struggle for you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think so. That's why we spent this weekend trying new things there in practice, because Richmond and Loudon, those two tracks I struggle at a lot. And, I think we felt if we could learn anything here, it would probably translate to Loudon. So, Chad and all the guys, worked hard on learning some things and, put some stuff into this car. And I feel like we're a little bit better than we have been in the past.
Starting to get some cars here on pit road, guys, and qualifying should be just around the corner, Rick.
Cars being gridded as they get ready for the first round of qualifying from Richmond. That's coming up next. Get your NASCAR coverage when you're on the go with NASCAR Mobile. The official app of NASCAR puts race coverage and live in-car cameras right at your fingertips. As part of Fan Appreciation Weekend, get access to all the premium features for free this weekend only. Download now at NASCAR.com/mobile. Cars still being pushed out onto the grid, and we just heard from Casey Mears talking a little bit about his situation. And Steve, you said it kind of struck you. Is that very accurate?
Yeah, well, Casey said that basically after all of that practice, they still need to go back and trust their notes, trust their simulation, trust their tools. And when you look at a schedule much like Richmond, where you have all the practice during the day and you now qualify in, I'll call it dusk, but race in the evening, it's really a lot about that notebook, but you have to believe it, because it seems like, Jeff, even though you write it down, you come back months later to the racetrack and you've learned more and you just think maybe that still doesn't apply. But in my history, I've learned when I believe in my notes and what the track's going to do, normally you can set a pretty good course on what changes you need to make to your race car.
You have to trust the trend of the track. It's just how do you take what practice you had today and what changes you made and apply those right changes to what you think the track is going to do. And that is way more difficult than it sounds.
Let's go back to the grid and Dave Burns.
15th in final practice was Trevor Bayne. Talk to us about the challenges on this track, which is still hot and getting a little bit of shade now for first round.
Well, it is still hot. For 545, you'd hope it'd be cooling down some, but it's not quite cool yet. But I feel really good about our Advocare Ford this weekend. It's got some speed in it. I feel like Darlington, we had some speed, got a little bit more this weekend, and that's something we've struggled for at Richmond. This is a short run speed. We've always been able to get our cars to drive decent, have good Ford drive for the long run, which is the biggest struggle here, is making sure your car will last over that 20 to 50 lap run to make sure you got the Ford drive, you got the car tight enough in. But our car's actually got a little bit of both. It's got the short run speed, long run speed. I feel like we have some potential to make it to the final round here in this qualifying session. So now I just got to go do my job.
No more important short run than the one coming up, Marty.
Dave, career start number 500 for Jamie McMurray this weekend. So does that make you feel old, or does that make you just feel seasoned?
A little bit of both. When I see Jeff Burton, I feel younger, so that makes me makes it a little bit better. But yeah, that's a lot of starts. It's kind of cool. I saw that sticker above my name there, or beside my name. It's went by really fast, honestly. I remember I saw Matt Kenseth had his 600 start a while back, and we were talking about it. It goes by faster than you think.
That was very good of you to get a shot at Jeff Burton in, by the way. Really quick, too.
Yeah, well, I really like Jeff Burton, so I can say things like that. We're pretty good friends away from the track even. But our Sherwin-Williams Emerald Chevy's been good all weekend, and that's important for us. It's a big weekend trying to get in the chase. And both the Ganassi cars were really good in the first practice, the 42 and the 1. So we're going to go try to get 3 good sessions in here, get us a good starting position, and then go watch the Xfinity race later.
A pressure-packed weekend for Jamie McMurray and his team, yet he still finds time to make fun of you, Jeff. Gotta love that.
Yeah, Marty, just reminding that I have the microphone at all times, so I will get the last word in.
I was thinking of the term with friends like that, who needs enemies?
I was impressed Jeff had friends.
That's the problem. That's the only kind of friends I have.
We look on board with Casey Mears at the thermometer, and over 100 degrees right now, and they haven't started the cars. That's prior to the cars starting up and the heat really building inside these things.
Well, 101 is a little toasty to be at the beach, but Casey Mears is wearing far from a swimsuit. I mean, he has not just this multi-layer fire suit on, but usually some fire retardant underwear underneath it to protect him, multiple layers for a driver. So it plus I can't see a lot of air being circulated around him in that tight-fitting seat there, Jeff.
And if you look at the top of his helmet, there's no helmet hose. They don't have a cooler in there because that's weight. Don't want any additional weight in the car.
Want everything they can be to be faster for this qualifying session. Group qualifying from the 3/4 mile Richmond International Raceway. It is 3 rounds. First round, the fastest 24 will advance. We'll also find out there will be one driver that will not be able to race on Saturday night. There are 41 here for 40 spots. Round 2, the fastest 12 will then move on to round 3, and round 3 will set the top 12 positions and determine who will be the pole winner this afternoon.
And Rick, I'm actually a little surprised to see this much excitement this quickly on pit road. While it is extremely hot and it's been really staying hot, the sun is starting to set, Jeff. So I would have thought some of these teams would have waited a little bit into this 20-minute round 1 to see if the track picked up grip. But Carl Edwards seems to be in a hurry to be on the racetrack. We'll see how it works out for him.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to run faster your second time out, I think. I would be surprised if track conditions cool down. Maybe you can run faster, but I would think the tires aren't going to let you run faster. But I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing.
And we heard earlier through the driver saying that it'll be the first lap.
Oh, totally loose. Yep. Loose coming to the start-finish line there.
21.93 for Carl Edwards, fastest lap we've seen turn.
By a lot.
So even though the heat has risen, it is allowing the teams to still turn some pretty good lap times. Chris Buescher, 22.38 for Chris.
And Carl Edwards made 1 lap. Not 2, he made 1 lap and shut it down. And that lap wasn't great. He came off turn 4 and it was really loose leaving the corner. So we'll see if that's good enough.
Chris Buescher, we're on board with him right now, and he's going to shut his car down.
Trevor Payne ran faster on his second lap.
Carl Edwards was 0.6 of a second faster than what he ran in practice.
This track always picks up when it gets cool.
Mears, 22 flat for Casey Mears after Casey was able to run a 22.39 in practice earlier. Casey Mears making his 250th start. We talk about milestones. Now we see Cole Witt out on the track in the 98.
And this lap's important, Rick, because Cole Witt is one of those cars that are racing for a starting position. He was 39th in practice, and he is not guaranteed to be in this race. So he needs to get a good lap and see if he can continue the opportunity of trying to race tomorrow night.
Josh Wise, Reed Sorensen, Matt Benedetto, Witt, and Blaney are all drivers that have to find somebody, one of those groups. Somebody's going to go home.
Stenhouse Jr. looking good on his qualifying run, then just dips into the red. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 4th quickest. Edwards, Bain, Mears, Stenhouse Jr. and Josh Wise, the top 5 of the 8 that have gone. A lot of drivers waiting on pit road. One thing you don't want to have happen during qualifying is have someone else affect your qualifying run. So they want to make sure that they have an opening when they get out on the track, a very clear track for them to put up their best lap, as Denny Hamlin goes 4th quickest.
Saw Denny coming off turn 2. He looked like he got tight and then got loose out by the wall on his first lap. The second lap was much cleaner, and you can see it on the speed chart as well.
In practice, the Toyota's not showing a lot of strength, especially in the final practice, but now early in the qualifying run, it's Denny Hamlin and Carl Edwards, the 2 fastest.
And of the combined practice sessions, Denny Hamlin was 4th fastest, so he just set fast time at a 21.90, and his fast time in practice was a 22.39.
And as I mentioned, there was a lot of movement on pit road when this qualifying first round started, but they don't seem to be in a hurry to go on the racetrack, kind of taking their time to get these laps in. That's more what I expected to see. Not only what the pace was in the racetrack, as you mentioned, Jeff, the pace can pick up here very quickly as the sun sets.
And that's also the spotters, the crew chiefs, they're talking to their drivers right now. They're telling them how much the racetrack has picked up so the driver can really kind of estimate how much harder he can drive the car. So not going early allows you to give a little more information to the driver as well.
Does the fact that the sun is beating down on turn 1 and 2 make it harder to drive more as far as different from one end of the track to the other, because a little bit almost shade in 3 and 4 because of the grandstands and where the sun is it more difficult to figure out a track like that, Jeff?
The drivers can see that one end is more shaded than the other, and you will push a little harder in the end that does have more shade. The ends are completely different anyway from each other, the way the corner's shaped, but when you see that shade, you know there's more grip there, so you try to get a little bit more in that end of the corner. See Danica Patrick, like she was free getting in the corner, didn't it, Steve?
It did. It looked like she had to correct a little bit, but you know, the beauty of this qualifying session is she can continue to run here. We'll see as she runs. We'll continue to compare her to Denny Hamlin. You see right there at the bottom of your screen. This is Tony Stewart. We'll see what kind of speed. He looked decent in practice at times. We'll see if that can translate to good qualifying effort.
Tony Stewart making his final Richmond race.
And to your point about Danica Patrick, that second lap for her was much quicker in the 8th position than she was on the first lap. We'll see if Tony Stewart also takes the option to run a second lap. And this one much better so far, but that's kind of the wrong way. You don't want to see it gain green on corner entry. That usually means they've overdriven the corner, gain time back. You want to see it to gain time on corner exit, which is the direction it's going for Tony Stewart here off turn 4.
He had to run 2 laps to get his fastest lap. Had to run 2 laps. Remember, Carl Edwards only ran 1 lap.
Tony Stewart goes all the way up to 3rd quickest on his qualifying run. Kevin Harvick 11th on his first lap.
You know, Jeff, you've mentioned it a couple times now. I didn't think it was that big a deal because I thought everybody would go fast on lap 1. But that is not the case. Carl has been the exception to that rule. Most everyone else has had to run 2 laps. We're going to see if that will continue to help the 19 progress forward through this qualifying. 6 for Kevin Harvick.
Of the top 8 right now, everyone had their fastest lap with the exception of Carl Edwards on their second lap. Kyle Larson on the clock.
And overall, it's a short track, and what that means is the lap times obviously are lower, but the gaps are lower as well. As you see Kyle Larson trending into the green here on lap 1. See if he can do it on 1 lap. I think it'll be good enough to transfer on 1 lap, even if it's not the fastest, but it's going to be the fastest. A 21.85 for Kyle Larson.
And he shuts it down.
Save those tires.
No sense in running more when you can run that quick on your first lap. That's a big advantage being able to run fast on your first lap. So.
And what I was saying is just how close qualifying is going to be on this short track. I mean, other than Kyle Larson, that was a very impressive lap. Matt Kenseth jumps up to the 3rd position. You know, we're going to see hundredths, if not thousandths of a second separate positions.
And again, the top 24 will advance into round 2. So right now, everyone is still being compared to now who's on top. Kyle Busch, who just turned the fastest lap at 21.844.
And Rick, right here at the bottom of your screen, you see Jimmy Johnson coasting out of sight. Why is that important? He only ran 1 lap, but it was only 7th quick. So you have to decide. Chad Canals has to make the decision. Is that enough? And just, you know, Jimmy, I want you to continue to run or come in. He guesses that it's going to be enough. Let's try to keep the lap on the tires. That is a great call, but a big risk, because if he has to go out in this session, that will definitely hurt his chances.
One thing that's very evident is the reason the 16 drivers are currently in the chase, because they have been the best over the whole season. Well, right now in this qualifying session, the top 7 drivers are all chase drivers.
Jamie Murray. No jokes about me being old. He still turned a good lap. The 3rd.
You're not going to let that go, are you?
Not for a while.
Now let's see how Ryan Newman does. Very important. Newman, 22 points out of 16th. And Newman with a qualifying run of 8th.
Well, another bubble driver, which we feel has a good chance of getting in because of the gap. Chase Elliott, 24th. not the lap Chase Elliott's looking for. Right down there on that cut line with drivers still to run. I don't believe that's going to get him through. I actually don't believe all the way up to maybe 95 Michael McDowell in the 18th position. I think all of those drivers need to be concerned about their pace.
Jeff Gordon up to 8th. Another guy who didn't have the run that he needed to have is Chris Buescher. He's down in 28th, and we still have a lot of cars that have not made a lap yet. So Chris Buescher has to be concerned down in 28th.
The stat I gave just a few moments ago about the top 8, everyone had run their fastest lap on their second lap. Now the top 10, everybody with the exception of 2 have run their fastest lap on their first lap.
And Austin Dillon up to 3rd, Blaney to 4th.
So is that stat the track? Is the track changing where that only takes 1 lap?
And if it is the track changing, then these guys down here on the bottom, Mears, McDowell, Biffle, Menard, Patrick, can they go out a second time and pick up? You wouldn't think so, but if the track conditions are getting better, maybe they can, and that's going to take everybody on pit road a little bit nervous if one guy goes out and runs fast on his second time.
Marty.
Well, Rick, it could be the track changing. In fact, Adam Stevens told Kyle Busch when he went out, we're going to have to run 2 laps. When he saw it, he went to the top of the board. Now he's second to his brother Kurt Busch and changing quickly with Casey Kane going up to second now. When they saw they laid down that lap after 1 lap, he told them immediately, shut it down, shut it down. So trying to save as many laps as you can on your tires, but clearly the track going through a changing process midway through round 1.
And we mentioned it, Chris Buescher struggling, currently 34th. David Reagan, the car he needs to outrun to stay in the top 30 in the points, up into the 17th, up into round 2 currently. That is not what Chris Buescher and the 34 team wants to see.
If the race started right now, David Reagan would have enough points to be ahead of Chris Buescher. So,
well, not to mention, look at the top of the board. Casey Kane, a win here would be big. Ryan Blaney, a win would be just, it would change the entire standings.
Jamie McMurray currently in front of Ryan Newman, and Newman needs to gain 22 points on Jamie McMurray.
If one of those guys won, well, then Jamie McMurray would have to gain points on Austin Dillon.
Right.
So,
well, the other option,
a new winner.
You know who the biggest David Reagan fan in Richmond is? Ryan Newman. Because if he outruns Chris Buescher, then Ryan Newman looks like he's got a chance to get in the chase. So there are just so many different storylines, so many different ways for these teams to get in the chase. And you see Chris Buescher out making another run, trying to improve his lap time as Logano goes into the top 15.
That moved Casey Mears just below the cut line in 25th.
Matt DiBenedetto now in 24th, right on the cut line. And Landon Castle, the only one to still needs to go out and take time in this qualifying session, as the clock now is 8 minutes and counting.
And Chris Buescher is definitely going to improve his lap here. It looks like, well, a little bit. 3 positions. It's just so close. But right here, trending in the green off turn 2. Can he hold this speed and get up into the top 24? I didn't think the tires had even close to a better lap in them, but the 34 of Chris Buescher has improved. Can he carry the momentum off? It looks like he got tight in the middle of 3 and 4.
And the tires can improve with the track conditions getting better. You got Harvick sitting here in 21st. He would not be thinking about having to run again, but if a few of these guys go out and run quick, it will force them to run again.
Yeah, and the top of that chart on the left side of your screen is Jimmy Johnson. I mentioned how he only ran 1 lap, and it was a risk, but currently is 17th. It looks like 1 lap might be enough.
Solid 22 of Joey Logano. Leaving turn 4. Back of the car, just not underneath. It's just way too loose, not able to stay in the throttle. Still ended up 15th, though, Dave.
Yeah, and so in that position, the crew is like, I think that will be good enough. They hope it will be with 7 minutes remaining.
It's right there on that point where I think that's safe. I don't think they're going to have to go again at 15. I would be surprised if enough people could move him down onto the line, but I've been surprised before in this sport.
Well, Jeff, we talked about this at the top of the show, how important qualifying was going to be. Well, Chase Elliott, why he does have the largest point margin, or, you know, the largest points advantage of everyone on the bubble. He still is on the bubble and sitting 33rd qualifying, Rick. 33rd position is not where you want to start at this fast yet tight 3/4 mile track. If there's an accident early or trouble early, Dave, this 24 could easily be in it.
So, Steve, I talked to Chase right before he climbed in the car, and I looked at the final practice sheet. He was 30th in final practice, so I said to him, did you guys just blow off the mock runs? He kind of smiled and said, oh, we did them. So they had a little trouble in qualifying trim, it appears, this afternoon, even when they were just practicing for it.
And that's surprising to me, Rick, because you have Chase Elliott 33rd. I still want to move him up the chart. Casey Kane in 2nd. Gordon 13th. Johnson in 17th. So there's 24 not only struggling to find speed, but a big distance on lap time behind his 3 teammates.
Interesting scenario, as now just under 6 minutes to go in this qualifying session. People waiting every minute that the sun is not beating down on this racetrack. They're hoping that they will find some speed, especially the ones that are below the cut line right now for round 2.
And all eyes right now are on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in this lap. He's in 30th. If he can pick up speed and move himself into the cut line, there's going to be a lot of nervousness on pit road. Even if he doesn't move himself in the cut line, but if he just picks up a 10, gets close, then people like Harvick, Allmendinger, Regan Smith, David Reagan, those guys are going to become very nervous about whether they're going to have to run again or not.
He's in the green.
Yeah, he is in the green, and that got off the racetrack a little bit. So he bottomed out as he crossed the table.
A little quicker entering 3 and 4 there. See if he can hang on to it.
Going to be close.
Very close. Just below the cut line. 25th for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on that lap. And he's going to keep digging.
He's got to not drive in the corner deep. Turn 3 sucks you in, and once you makes you drive in deep, you can see he picked up some speed getting in, but he's losing it. Not much, though. Can he keep it?
He improves that time, and 23rd quickest for Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
And the fact that he found more speed at all is going to make 4 minutes and 20 seconds very exciting for the rest of these competitors. Almirola is now on the line. DiBenedetto has been below the line. Mears 26, McDowell 27th.
And you have to look at a guy like Casey Mears, who went out very early, put the lap out there. He's been able to cool the tires off longer than most of the other drivers out there that are trying to fight to get into the top.
Remember, Casey Mears was first in our final practice of the day. He said he put down that lap early, but this is the perfect example of just how difficult it is to practice at Richmond.
Greg Biffle down in 28, trying to work himself up. Brian Scott, 34th. Boyer in 32nd. Keep thinking Biffle's going to find a way. Got to the middle corner well, but just couldn't carry the speed on corner exit.
Greg Biffle, the 46-year-old out of Washington. His best finish at this track, 3rd. Making their 500th start. And Biffle not able to break into the top 24 on that lap. Danica Patrick back out on track. Danica had a 22.12 second lap. Trying to improve upon that. Now the cut line is Eric Almirola. And really 22.068 is what everyone will be shooting for. There are 3 drivers from 21st to 23rd that are separated by 1/1000th of a second. 3 drivers separated by 1/1000th of a second.
Patrick got off turn 2 really well. She gained just a little bit in 3 and 4. Didn't overdrive the entry. Looks like she's carrying good momentum. Just couldn't quite keep it.
Casey Mears back out on track. Danica Patrick giving it her all if she can break into the top 24. Mears not an improvement on that last lap, and looks as though not able to find the speed as he'll shut it down with just over 2 minutes to go. Chase Elliott definitely searching for speed, especially compared to his teammates.
The car bottom out a little bit in the middle of 3 and 4, coming to get the green right now.
Listen, we talked earlier about how they had to be easy with the throttle and race trim. And you see how his hands tight in the middle. The right hand just never moved. Watch him if he holds the steering wheel so still in the middle of the corner. That looks like a tight condition to me. Loose in, loose off, tight in the middle. That looks like Richmond.
Let's see if it's better with heating the tires in turn 1. He got really slow in the middle of the corner that first lap.
You saw him pass Chris Buescher, who's coming back on the racetrack to try to improve his time. The pace just isn't there for the 24 car. He's a 10th, almost 2/10 of a second off Eric Almirola and 24th.
That really reminds me of the conversation we overheard Jimmy Johnson talking to his crew chief about his car was too comfortable in practice. He had to make it more uncomfortable. Chase Elliott's car was really comfortable, but it's just too slow, won't turn.
One driver who has to be very uncomfortable right now is Chris Buescher. We're riding along with him. Dave.
And Rick, he was told by crew chief Bob Osborne, we're going to wait until the bitter end, bud. And this is it. Left themselves just enough time to get a couple of laps. When he entered the track, he already had 5 time laps on his tires.
And he has to be looking right now at where David Reagan is. And David Reagan 31st in the points. Chris Buescher 30th in points. And David Reagan right now 19th in this qualifying run. Buescher still cannot break out of the 30s. He's still 31st. And again, only an 11-point advantage, and that advantage is gone if they start where they are right now.
Yeah, David Reagan is going to have a chance to improve. Who knows how far David Reagan can go. But there are some names in this top 24 I think need to be mentioned. You have Trevor Bayne in 18th, David Reagan in 19th, Regan Smith in 20th. Great runs for all 3 of those drivers to move forward into the second round.
The names I want to talk about, Casey Kane in 2nd and Blaney in 6th.
Yep.
These guys can win this race and completely turn this whole chase thing upside down. So these guys got to feel really good about round 1. Let's see if he can carry the momentum into round 2 and see if they can advance into 3.
Eric Almirola is able to hang on to the 24th spot and will advance to round 2. Casey Kane, as you mentioned, 2nd in the first round. We'll hear from the drivers when we come back. 5th through 40th are now set after round 1. Matt DiBenedetto, the first car that did not advance into round number 2. And all the way at the bottom of the list, Cole Witt in the 98s will not race on Saturday nights, as he was the slowest of the cars that are not locked into the field. Marty.
Well, we talked to Chase Elliott before qualifying. I didn't think we'd be talking this soon. Chase, what did you struggle with on your qualifying runs?
Just not going fast enough for sure. I really don't know what our problem is. We struggled in our mock runs earlier today too, so we just need to think about it, I guess, and try to go to work tonight. But the Red Cross Chevrolet has been trying today. We're giving it our best effort. It just hasn't been where we need to be. But you know, this bad news is that's a terrible starting spot. The good news is a long race tomorrow night. We have some teammates that are fast, so hopefully we can lean on them and try to get our Chevrolet a little better.
And Davey does mention he can go look at those teammate notes. That certainly will help.
Chris Buescher will hopefully have some notes that he can lean on too from other folks. But where do you think you're going to go, Chris, after that qualifying run?
Hopefully forward. That's you know, not where we wanted to be for qualifying with our CSX Ford. You know, we a little bit better than we were last time here, so there is a little bit of positive to it, believe it or not. And you know, we're going to be able to work our way up. You know, but at the end of the day, this weekend's about something bigger. You know, we're trying to stay out of trouble and be there at the end. And you know, it's not going to be an easy walk from where we're at right now, but we'll be able to work our way up.
A little work to do, but maybe a silver lining, Rick, in qualifying for Chris.
Chris Buescher back in 31st in that qualifying session and had his hands full.
Yes, he did. Just you can see the back of the car just was not hooked up right there. Could not carry speed through the middle of the corner.
Remember, Chris Buescher has to stay inside the top 30 in points if he wants to be eligible for the chase. Even with the win at Pocono, still has to stay in the top 30. Watch every Sprint Cup Series race with the NBC Sports app. Get closer with additional camera angles, driver stats, and track information. Download the app. Find out more at NBCSports.com/live. Not what Chris Buescher wanted, pushing his car back behind the wall, as there are now 24 drivers that are fighting for the top 12 to make it into round 3.
And it's still, I mean, crazy.
Sweltering.
I mean, it's. Are you sure it's September? Did my calendar break? Because I thought we ran the Southern 500 last week, and Labor Day weekend is behind us. But
it's hotter here than it was in Darlington.
I'm telling you. But
So
you mentioned, you know, we talked about Chris Buescher. His opportunity to try to go faster is over. David Reagan's going to try to improve. But Jeff mentioned this. There are some drivers that are looking forward. Casey Kane, Ryan Blaney. If they can qualify up front, make this third round, it's going to be interesting because that changes it all. And then Denny Hamlin, the hometown kid.
Yep.
He wants to have a run here. He mentioned on NASCAR America this week how much momentum from a win here could mean for this 11 team. Not to mention those 3 bonus points, but momentum. So it's not just the bubble drivers that are looking to have a great run or a win here in Richmond.
I'm interested that he went out this early. I'm interested that he went out this early. I would have thought that he would have sat and waited, let the track temp come down a little bit more.
With just 10 minutes, does that change the strategy, the ideology behind sending a car out early in case you need to run a second time?
Well, I will say that he's the only one that got the memo, Dave, because when I look on the racetrack, the 11's the only car out there.
The only discussion they had, and Denny said, I am worried about making the final round, but Mike Wheeler, his crew chief, assured him that the amount of time they have spent sitting on pit road has their tires cooled down more than the rest of the guys. Remember, he went out early in the first session as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dave. That's, that is really what we're talking about. But I think the other concern is the track temperature. So while his tires are cooler, we said it's hot. At 92 degrees, it's hot. But it doesn't matter if it's 120 or 80. Every degree cooler track temperature is better. So if it is 120 degrees on the track and it cools 5 degrees, that's still 5 degrees more grip. And you heard him right there. That's not going to make it. So Denny doesn't feel like that lap is going to work. But we don't know. How are the tires going to cycle?
I don't know. I think that will make it. But and look, I'm going to play devil's advocate against myself. So he went early. If that does make it, his tires will be the coolest of everybody's. So in the 3rd round. So, for a team that really has nothing to lose and a lot to gain, if you go win this race and get bonus points, you can qualify as best as possible. Going early, as long as you transfer, going early, you have the coolest tires on that 3rd segment. So if that works out, they're going to look really smart.
Well, I'm going to say one thing. If these guys wait much longer, it's going to be
chaos.
Forget cool tires. There's not going to be enough track. This is only a 3/4 mile track. There's not enough asphalt to go around for all these cars.
Matt Kenseth, he's run out of patience.
I was just going to say, they could play a little bit of poker here with Denny Hamlin and wait until the last minute or two, and then Denny Hamlin may have to go out not even knowing if he's going to get in, because if 12 guys go out and run faster than he does and there's not enough time left, he's got to make that decision very late. As Kenseth, one of his teammates, on the track now. Again, Denny Hamlin, the only one that has been on the clock up to this point. David Reagan now on the track as well in the 23. And David Reagan, again, 31st in points. 11 points behind Chris Buescher. If David Reagan finishes 11 positions, or 12 positions, 12 positions in front of Chris Buescher in the race tomorrow night, Chris Buescher would then not be eligible for the chase. And that brings someone back in based upon points.
Look at Matt Kenseth. He had a really good run. Still going to beat Hamlin by just a little. No, he didn't beat him. I thought he had him.
So about 1/10 of a second, a little less than 1/10 of a second separating Kenseth and Hamlin. Marty.
A lot of cars have left their pit stalls and gone to pit road, including Casey Kane, who was 2nd fastest in round 1. You see that big gap in front of the 5 car as we watch Brad Keselowski on the racetrack. Keith Rodden told him to leave that because last time they went down pit road, he was too close to another car and couldn't get out. So we expect this flood of cars coming on the racetrack, but see, sometimes you have to tell your driver, leave me a little room so I continue whenever I want you to go out.
Right, you can't have your driver you can't have your driver trap himself in on pit road. You have to be able to try to get out when you can. It is complicated. Why? It seems like it would be simple. It's very difficult as a spotter, driver, crew chief, because remember, the crew chief's trying to give some direction. The spotter needs a radio. It's one open line. If someone's on the radio, that's the only person that can be, heard clearly.
And the further back you are in that line, the more people that can pull out in front of you. So you can pull out a line toward the back, think you're going to get a clean racetrack. And the 3rd or 4th car in front of you, he has the same idea. Now he messes up your entire plan. So a lot going on in those short time.
So Regan Smith and Kevin Harvick both are slower than David Reagan. How important would it be for Ron Devine, this is a local track for him,
who's the owner of the 23?
Yep, Burke, Virginia, which is 70 miles north of here. Ron Devine would love to have a great showing for his team. And David Reagan, right now, is looking fairly impressive in the top 6
Look at McMurray.
Another impressive car. So I was just thinking, is this one of Jamie McMurray lost a little bit of pace off? Let's see if he can back his entry up. Looks like he still gained some time on entry. That concerns me for the exit. I'm not sure that it's going to work, although Kurt Busch is trending well ahead in the green. As well, as you look down there, we have 4 cars still compared to 1. Now remember, the goal is still only the top 12. You need to make the top 12 to advance to round 3.
Kurt Busch fastest, 21.891.
Newman up to 5th.
Very impressive for Newman. Faster than McMurray in this session.
I'm still waiting, though.
Murray 3rd. He heard you.
Jumps up
He heard
on
you,
that
Rick.
lap.
I'm still waiting for Casey Kane and Ryan Blaney. We mentioned those two drivers that, Jeff, you and I feel could win at this racetrack.
Well, you don't have to wait much longer for Casey Kane. He's out on the track as Newman was trying to find some more speed.
Jeff Gordon at 9th, Trevor Bayne to 12th.
Martin Truex Jr., emotional win a week ago from Darlington, out on the track. Jeff Gordon in the 88. Again, 24 drivers trying to fill 12 spots.
That was a good lap for Jeff Gordon in the 4th position. His teammate here, the 5 of Casey Kane, though, he needs a good lap, and right now it doesn't seem like he has the speed in his car. He'll have to run a 2nd lap. I don't believe they can just stop here being in the 12th position. He needs to try to improve.
A lot of pressure on this team. They just haven't delivered this year like everyone expects. That is a better lap, though.
Yeah,
coming off turn 1, definitely better.
Keith Rodden, that's the crew chief for Casey Kane on the left of your screen. You can see almost the pressure just staring at that monitor, wanting to see some improvement. He jumps up to 7th.
P7 right now.
Jimmy Johnson.
Right ahead of Jimmy Johnson.
Just below him. Kyle Busch, who was very fast in round 1, now 12th quickest on his first lap. Really find more speed on the 2nd lap.
He drove in the corner. It wasn't for a lack of trying, I can tell you that. He got in the corner a little deep, wasn't able to hold the bottom, but still 4th fastest.
That's good.
Good job. That should do it.
Austin Dillon, 0.2 of a second off. He is 11th. Inside the top 12, though. Just about 2 minutes to go in round 2.
Some fast cars have yet to go. Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney, they're on the track now, or at least Larson is out on the track now.
Austin Dillon's 2nd lap, a little bit better, 10th quickest.
That could be a big, one position could be a big difference for this 3 car. We'll see. Can Kyle Larson move himself up into the 3rd round? Yeah, that looked like a good, maybe a little late back to the throttle, but it looked like a good turn 1 and 2. Very in control. On the left side of your screen, you have Ryan Blaney. On the right side, Kyle Larson in that 42 car.
Looks like a good lap.
Goes across the stripe, and he's 4th quickest.
In 1 lap, Rick.
Got it down.
And you heard him shut it down. Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, all on their first lap turned 3 of the 4 best times.
Blaney's 2nd lap is much better than the 1st lap. He's a 10th off getting into turn 3. Let's see if he can carry his speed to the start-finish line. Nice center of the corner speed.
Coming off of turn 4.
Go again. Keep going. Run your turn 4 down if you need it.
We're comparing to 12th, so they need to be in the green. Ryan Blaney still currently there, but Edwards is in the green, and so is it Kevin Harvick. Can Kevin Harvick move forward?
Edwards falls out of the green on this lap. So does Harvick. Trevor Bayne barely in the green. And then into the red. Everyone has taken at least a lap. Now with just 23 seconds to go, they have to be to the start-finish line if their lap is to count prior to the clock running down to 0.
And Edwards is right on it, Rick. Look at 0.6, 0.5 thousandths of a second. Can he get it done in through turns 3 and 4? He gained it going in. It's going the right direction. Will it be enough?
Oh, 13.
But he has time with 2 seconds left.
He just was told, keep going. You got 1 more.
Yeah, but you can see how much the tires have fallen off. He's almost a 10th of a second down. It's just so hard. You have to put it all together when conditions are right and the tires are in that position early in these runs.
Not going to do it on the last run.
I bet Jeff Gordon in 7th. Reminding everybody that,
oh, by the way,
I can still do this.
That's right.
And I still think his teammate, Casey Kane, we've been hard on this 5-car, Jeff. We've wanted to see production out of Casey Kane, wanted him to run for race wins. The pressure, the season on the line here at Richmond, and here he is in round 3.
And if he can find a way to win this race Saturday night, all that'll be forgotten, right? It'll
Absolutely.
be, hey, we did exactly what we needed to do to get into the chase. So there's so much pressure on that team.
Ryan Newman, 15th, doesn't make the final round. The guy he's shooting for in points, McMurray, in the final round. We'll talk to the drivers next. After round 2 is complete, these are the drivers that don't advance to round 3. Carl Edwards won earlier at this racetrack this year. Brad Keselowski back here in 17th. Kevin Harvick, a 3-time winner at Richmond, starts outside the top 15. Probably the biggest name on this list, Ryan Newman, who is fighting to get into the chase just outside the top 16 in points. Looks as though he will start 15th tomorrow night. Marty.
Good effort for Luke Lambert and Ryan Newman, just 4 100 short of making it into round 3. So what were the struggles with the car during qualifying, Ryan?
Just speed, really. You know, the balance wasn't that far off. Just need to re-look at how we're getting a grip in all four corners of the race car. Caterpillar Chevrolet guys are doing a good job, working really hard. Just got to find a little bit of extra speed there for a quick lap. We didn't have it all day, but like I said earlier, we felt like our long run speed's been a little bit better than our short run speed, and hopefully that pays off tomorrow night.
Knowing you're in a situation tomorrow night where you have to win, Ryan, do you feel like you've made the car better, though, throughout the day to give you a better shot at that tomorrow evening?
I don't think we have, but I think a lot of the other guys did the same thing. So we've been trying to win now for 3 years, and no better time than tomorrow night.
All right, Ryan Newman, 15th on the qualifying for the tomorrow night's race, and ready to get it going, obviously, in a must-win situation, Rick.
Going to be very tough. Ryan Newman will start 15th tomorrow night. When we come back, the final round qualifying. Who will win the pole? And welcome back to historic Richmond, Virginia. As we're getting ready for the final round of qualifying for the Sprint Cup Series to determine the top 12 starting positions and who will bring the field to the green flag for the final race of the regular season. Again, this is a very short session. 5 minutes they have to determine who will win the pole and where everyone will start in the top 12. Do you wait for the last minute on this one now?
You know, with only being 5 minutes, I do think the track's only going to get better. So I think waiting is not a bad idea, but it's not worth waiting to disrupt your rhythm. If your driver's ready to go and you feel like clear track's going to help you. But I think more than just the track getting better, Jeff, kind of the bogey of what you need to run might help these teams as well, because Jeff mentioned how these tires lose grip. So how much have they lost? What kind of lap time are you trying to run compared to last round?
I like where Denny Hamlin and his team are sitting. Remember, they went out first in that second segment, so they've sat longest. Their tires have cooled the longest. That turned out to be a pretty smart strategy, I think.
And I also like the way these guys stop, because Denny Hamlin still has the option, if he wants to go by Joey Logano, to pull out and go by him. He's given himself enough room.
They all know it started, right? They know the clock's running, because it's down to 4 minutes.
The second they fire the engines is when the green flag was displayed. They rolled to the front of pit road and then stopped.
Joe, it sounds silly, and I think a lot of people at home don't realize it, but the cars on the racetrack create heat as well.
Yep.
We've learned over the last several years that, you know, you always wonder, why is the track faster now than it was before? And a lot of it has to do with the amount of cars that are on the racetrack. So the longer you can sit, even if the track stays the same, the longer the track sits, it actually cools down without cars on it. So I think waiting as long as you can makes sense. Yeah, Hamlin ready to go. He's tired of waiting.
Hamlin and McMurray
prove you wrong.
Have gone out. So 2 cars on the racetrack. Denny Hamlin will be the first one to take time. On the clock now. McMurray also just starting his lap.
We all know Denny Hamlin takes so much pride in winning on racetracks in Virginia. He's so this racetrack means a lot to him.
Denny Hamlin has won here at Richmond twice before, but it's been over 5 years since his last win at Richmond.
First lap was an 18. That's slower than what they ran the second, earlier. Jamie McMurray in 09 was about the same as he ran.
And again, Jamie McMurray trying to get a win to solidify his position in the chase. Has the fastest lap of the two that have been out on track. Now Kurt Busch also out on track, and Denny Hamlin goes a little bit faster. Marty.
Rick checked in with a couple of teams waiting to go at the very end of pit road. You see Jeff Gordon there and also Casey Kane, who's going to go here in a second. I asked Keith Rodden, how long do you wait? He said, as long as I can. The more shade, that buys speed, and that's what we want. Going to be interesting to watch, though. Kurt Busch and Kyle Larson, both of them just with 2 laps on their tires. We'll see if that pays an advantage.
Does Denny Hamlin have anything to lose if he wanted to just stay out there and keep making laps?
No,
just maybe
nothing,
the engine.
Yeah, nothing to gain.
The engine with the grill tape solid. Maybe, I mean, that's the thing. They have full grill tape because even at this short track, downforce doesn't matter qualifying. So you run your 2 or 3 laps and come in. As we see Joey Logano on the track. Right behind Joey Logano, we have Casey Kane.
It's Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray, Kurt Busch, Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano. The 5 that have been on the track.
Casey Kane got a nice run through 1 and 2, currently in the green, heading into turn 3. What a story it would be for the 5 to sit on the pole here at Richmond.
And flirting with that top speed. Kane will be 4th quickest.
But we've seen cars go faster the second time. Hamlin did. Let's see if Kane can do it.
Kane's in the green and right back into the red.
He drove it in really deep and jumped into the gas, trying to find that time. You have to find the time somewhere. Can he find it down here in 3 and 4? Joey Logano.
1 minute left in this qualifying round.
How about Kenseth? How about Kenseth? The lap he has coming. Second.
Matt Kenseth second. It's Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth. Hamlin, first one on the track, set the fastest lap up to this point.
I'm looking at Kyle Larson, though. Remember, only 2 laps on his tires. I really think he's in the best position to run a great lap here qualifying. He's just now coming to take the green flag as we see Casey Kane is going to finish, it looks like, in the 6th position currently.
Momentum. Martin Truex Jr. has it after the win at Darlington.
Well, Larson got through 1 and 2 really well. See if he can roll it down the back straightaway. Not overdrive 3. Off the bottom just a little bit.
But back in the gas, I'm making time. Well, he loses a little time.
Holding it. Does he get there? No, he's 2nd quickest.
But he has another lap. Remember, the freshest tires, it's really going to pay dividends on that 2nd lap. And look at how he's tracking. Almost a 10th to the good rig.
This is where he lost it the last time, though. See if he can hold the bottom. This time he's much closer to the bottom. Still, it's backing up.
Going the wrong direction. Can he get there in time?
No.
No, he does not. Denny Hamlin still has the fastest lap.
He's that 42 head speed everywhere. He just couldn't keep up with the pace Denny Hamlin set through turns 3 and 4, and that's what ended up being 2nd. And you see a very happy
hometown boy.
So that strategy that we questioned going out early in round 2, that seemed to work out. Had it not gone fast enough in round 2, it would have been not a good thing, but because he went faster, he was able to sit there, tires cool down longer. A gutsy move that paid off. Dave.
Hey, I'll take that. What about that? And Wheels was so sure that you were timing this all right, but you thought you were going out a little early. It worked.
We had more laps on our tires. Balance was off. Everything was terrible, and still that's awesome. I mean, I don't know, 23 or 24 straight weeks of qualifying in the top 10 and not being able to get a pole. This was unbelievable to finally get it under these circumstances, and very unexpected, but proud of this whole FedEx Crown Camry team. Give me a good car and obviously giving us something we can hopefully win with tomorrow night.
Describe your lap, because coming in you said I couldn't have gotten anything more out of it.
I felt like I hit all my marks and did everything as good as I could have, but I knew we were at a pretty good tire disadvantage there with a lot of the cars that are up front. So tells me my car's going to be pretty good in the long run. I'm happy about that.
It is Richmond. It is Denny Hamlin. Welcome home.
And we flash back. Denny Hamlin, 2009. Home track so important to Denny Hamlin, again from Chesterfield. In 2010. September 11th, and once again the checkered flag for Denny Hamlin. But as I mentioned, it's been over 5 years since Denny Hamlin's been able to win at this track.
Well, Rick, we got to remember, it's been over 5 years, but this is week 1 for him in the old NBCSN Toyota on-track car.
Good point.
So I know nothing, just silence over here to my left. Come on, Burton. He's on the pole after driving your ride.
I had a conversation with him before all that. Must have helped.
Let's hear from the guy who was second quickest, Marty.
Maybe Jeff Burton should have given Kyle Larson a little bit of advice. Boy, it looked like you had the pole every lap, but 3 and 4 seemed to kill the lap time. What was going on over there?
Yeah, I was losing my drive off of 4. But I'll take a second here. I've always qualified somewhat decent here, so would have liked to get the pole, but we'll take a front row start. You know, short tracks are where I struggle the most, so it's nice to qualify good. We just got to race well. So you know, I've qualified good on short tracks before, just haven't raced great. So like I said earlier, we've changed some stuff on the Target Chevy to try and make it better, and you know, so far this weekend's been paying off. So happy about that. Still a long race tomorrow to try and work on it.
Considering you guys have kind of approached this weekend as a test weekend, do you feel like you've made positive steps?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can see in our speed, we have a little bit more speed than I've had in the past. It's been a while since we've actually got to qualify here, so because I think it rained out earlier this year. But like I said, qualifying's been good for me on short tracks, but the racing's where I struggle. So got to try and keep forward drive underneath it all day, and or all night, and hopefully come up with a good finish. So just want to get a good run. A top 10 would be great for me here. You know, be a really good finish for us.
Kyle Larson qualifies second for tomorrow night's race, Rick.
And the guys who are the Chase bubble drivers, the ones close to the cutoff line. Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, Jamie McMurray. Look at where they're going to start.
Yeah, Austin Dillon and Jamie Murray, I would say mission accomplished tonight, not digging themselves a hole, putting themselves in position to have a good solid night.
Yeah, well, then you have Chase Elliott, who's dug himself a hole. Casey Kane giving himself an opportunity to win. But how about Chris Buescher? 31st position, David Reagan 21st. The car he needs to outrun for 30th has beat him by 10 positions qualifying.
And by the way, they're separated by 11.
and more than just that,
11
what
points.
Chris Buescher has done is put himself in a position where if trouble happens, he can be in it.
Right.
Chris Buescher has done a good job of avoiding issues and trying to run the racetrack, but back in 31st, we've talked about how wide the groove's going to be, and while that is good for passing and good for moving up, this place is going to be crazy on restarts, and he's going to have the initial start of the race all the way back at 31st.
What about Chase Elliott? The only thing that can happen bad for Chase Elliott is a terrible finish. But where he's starting, he's opened the door for that to happen. Get a new winner and a terrible finish, anything could happen.
All smiles for Jamie McMurray, though, who will start 4th in tomorrow night's race. Tonight on NBCSN, coming up next, it's Countdown to Green for the Xfinity Series, then racing the post-race show at 10, and at 10:30 it's the Mecum Auto Auctions from Louisville. On Countdown to Green, Krista Kyle and Jeff Burton, as they're getting ready for that show, will be focusing on the heart-to-heart with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Steve Letarte, Dale Earnhardt Jr. sat down and talked life. Then Rutledge Wood will be live with Elliott Sadler. Big win at Darlington a week ago. That's all coming up on Countdown to Green next. Starting grid for tomorrow night's race, Denny Hamlin, the Chesterfield, Virginia native, hometown hero, will start on the pole. Kyle Larson will be right there with him.
Yeah, you look at Casey Kane down there in row 4, a must-win situation if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive. Austin Dillon, another bubble driver with decent qualifying in row 4.
Jamie McMurray also up there in row 2. A little bit further back, Jeff Gordon, a great qualifying effort for that 88 team.
And how about Tony Stewart? Row 7, making his final start at Richmond, the track that he got his first ever Sprint Cup Series win at back in 1999.
A little further back in the field, Kevin Harvick, guy who's won here multiple times, will start 20th on the field. He's definitely got an uphill battle in front of him. David Reagan starting in row 11.
And Tommy Baldwin racing with Regan Smith back there in row 12. A good qualifying run for the 7 car.
A little bit further back in the field, Casey Mears, who was Very quick in practice, not able to back that up in his qualifying run. How about Greg Biffle making his 500th start? He will start on the outside of row 14.
And we're going to hear this name all night Saturday night. Chris Buescher, currently 30th in points in the chase with his win, but must stay in the top 30 racing against David Reagan. Have to see if he can stay in the top 30 through the race.
Again, if Chris Buescher can't stay in the top 30 in points, that will bring someone else in points back up into the chase discussion.
And you see Chase Elliott back on row 17, looking decent in the points, but that's a long ways back in the field. Trouble can happen very quickly here. Short track.
Denny Hamlin winning his 24th career pole in his 388th start, and again, done bigger than right here in his hometown. So Denny Hamlin looking forward to 400 laps tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I think that's what you've heard a lot of these drivers say. This racetrack it's a long race. This track, you're going to have a lot of tire fall off, a lot of tire spin. You heard Denny say, well, maybe my car will be good on old tires, and that's what we're going to see tomorrow night. Some guys will be good on the restarts, some will be guys on old tires. What type of race will fit them at the end?
And surprisingly, Denny kind of said his car wasn't all that great, and he ends up on the pole for tomorrow night's race. Coming up next, it's the Xfinity Series Countdown to Green.